Hello, welcome to my channel Supercar Sunday. In this video we'll be looking at the BMW E30 325i project, and we'll also be looking at some of the tools used to repair the car. So winter's gone finally at last, and I've been able to get the car back into the garage. You can see there's an arch that I welded on there last year. So the car was parked up over winter. Just before winter I managed to do the head gasket on the car. Had the head skinned, put a new gasket on, changed the belts, got the car moving again so I could get it into the garage. So back to the quarter panel there. I'm just removing the sealer from the lower quarter panel using a blowtorch and a scraper. Also using a wire brush. Very effective. So a bit of a tip when you're doing this, make sure there's nothing in the car that'll actually catch fire. No carpets, no inner sound deadening, or no wires or anything up against the inner panel. Last thing you want is your pride and joy going up in smoke. And for obvious reasons, while you're doing this, I'll be wearing some gloves, mask and some eye protection. Definitely need a mask because it does stink. It's no good smelling these fumes. It will make your head spin. So once I've got all this sealer removed, I'll be cutting out the rotted area and I'll be making some panels and I'll be welding them in. But before we get all excited about doing a bit of welding, we'll be looking at removing some of the paint off the rest of the quarter, because I want to get the rest of the quarter stripped down first. Any filler in it's had a bad repair before and there's lots of filler in the quarter, and I just want to get it all removed, get it back to a bare canvas and start again. So there's the last couple of bits of sealer to remove off this lower quarter section, and then we'll be looking at removing that bit of filler there and stripping the paint off the top of the quarter. So I started to use a DA first on here to try and sand the paint down, but because it's been painted before and it's got quite a lot of paint on the car, I realised quite quick that it was just going to take forever to sand it off. So I had to come up with another idea to remove it. I needed something more aggressive, so I've got this Final Systems paint stripper and I use that. Probably best to note that if you're going to use something like this, you're going to need to wear some gloves, definitely use a mask and some eye protection. It will burn if it gets on your skin, and if you breathe it in you'll be high as a kite. It is, I mean, I had a mask on, and on a night time I was sat watching TV with my wife, and she was watching TV and I was at the fairground. It was like being back in 1999 again. My head was absolutely spinning with it. So I'll probably put about 3 or 4 coats of this stuff on. So I'll just put it on, scraped it off, put it on, scraped it off, and so on. It's probably good to note that also I'd have a bin bag there to keep sweeping it up and get it out of the way, because you'll end up with it everywhere. Obviously it's a messy job. It's quite satisfying to do, as you can see, apart from getting a thick head from the fumes. I would also have a cloth ready, a cloth handy, just in case you do get it on your hands when you take the gloves off and start packing up and things. You don't want to have it on your hands for too long. You need a cloth ready just to wipe it off if it gets on your skin anywhere. So when you brush the paint stripper on, you just want to scrape it off straight away. You don't need to hang around for it to soak in or anything. It just pretty much works straight away. In fact, if you leave it on a bit too long, it'll just dry. So just brush it on and then scrape it off, brush it on, scrape it off, and just keep going like that. So in case you're wondering what headcam I'm using to video the headcam footage with, it's actually an 8-man 4K action cam, and I bought it off Amazon. I was having a look for something a bit cheaper than a GoPro because I didn't think it'd be worth getting a GoPro for in the garage in case it obviously got damaged or something. So that's what I got there, 8-man 4K action cam. Definitely worth the look for the money, fantastic little camera for the money. So as you can see, it puts some great additional footage into my videos. So we're now on to one of my favourite tools, and that's my Ryobi grinder, Ryobi cordless grinder, and I bought it from Halfords. I've also got the drill, the spotlight and the hedge trimmer. So they all have interchangeable batteries, part of the One Plus series. It's a decent grinder. You need plenty of batteries to it really, because on projects like this, when you're doing a lot of work, it'll eat through the batteries, so you generally have one on charge while you're using another, and then when that's gone you'll go on to another battery and so on. So I've ground all that filler out there now with the Ryobi grinder, and now I'm just using the DA just to finish it off. Probably going over it with some 80 on a disc there, 80 disc. Look at all that shit on the floor, dearie me. So we'll see in a minute anyway what this panel looks like. Just in a second here. So you can see it's all sanded down, ready for a skim of filler. But first I'll be welding up that lower part of the quarter that I've cut out. So that's where I was burning off all the sealer and scraping it out, ready to cut out and then make a couple of panels to weld in. So I've just gone over all that quarter panel with some Hammerite Cure Rust, just to protect it, just a bit of extra protection from any rust that might be in there, any little pit holes of rust. So that there's where I'm going to be welding the fresh metal in. We'll see in a minute when I make the little panels to go in there. See them clamped in. So that's the first piece I've made and I've clamped it in there. So I'm going to tack that in place. So this is the MIG weld I'm using, it's just a Clark 160 TE. Decent welder, it'll probably weld up to about 6mm, probably more. It's ideal for car bodywork. I purchased that from Machine Mart. So I just put a few welds in a few different spots, as you can see there. Hold it in place. And then I've welded it in properly. And next I'll make the piece that goes underneath and it'll weld up against that. We're just having a look inside first, I think. So that's that piece there welded, that's as it looks from inside, and I seal that on the inside. I'll have some footage of that somewhere, I'll put it in one of the videos. So that's the bottom piece I've made. So I've just made that so that'll fit up against that panel. So I'll weld all that in place and then I'll fill it on so it looks right, and then I'll seal it all. I have actually done that already, it's all finished that now, so I'll put a bit of footage in of what that looks like. All that quarter's all finished now and all in primer. I've got onto the door now. I've repaired the door's in primer, and I've been doing some welding on the battery tray area. So this is the last piece I'm making here to weld in that inner arch. So as you see now, I used a bit of cardboard first and made a template, and then I've drawn around the template on the tin. Then I cut the tin out and I then shape that and weld it in. So I don't know if I mentioned it, but the arch is off another model. The arch that I welded in, I couldn't find one for that model. So I got one off another model and I just basically shaped it and welded it in. So I got it, it fits well anyway, it's gone in well. It'll fill on fine and no one will tell, so that's the main thing, I guess. So when I weld panels in, I use a weld through primer. And when I've got the panels welded in, I like to use this Isopan rust inhibited primer. It's good stuff, like it says on the can, it's quick drying, it's over paintable. I've used it on my camper van that's been restored now for at least 5 years. There's no rust come back through on that, so it is really good stuff. I like to use it on all the bare metal on my projects. I got this particular can from Halfords, so they do sell it in Halfords. I think it's about £10 or something for a can. I get it a bit cheaper with my trade card, but if you haven't got a trade card, it's worth £10 anyway in my eyes. So I'm going to leave this video here, and in the next instalment we'll be looking at filler work and getting the quarter panel into primer. There'll be lots more other things, but you'll just have to wait and see. If you've enjoyed the video and like to follow the project, please subscribe and hit the bell for updates. I'd really appreciate the support. Thanks for watching.